jabbering away. Yeah. I'm gonna let Eric sit down and then I'm gonna Morning, everyone. Welcome to the February 6th Zoning Board of Adjustment meeting. If any member of the audience wishes to speak to an item on the agenda today, there are speaker request forms to the left of the dais. Please fill out the request with the agenda number of the item you wish to speak to and hand it to the secretary. At this time, we would also like to ask that if any audience members have cell phones or other electronic device, that you either turn it off or turn the ringer to silent. If you need to take a call, please step out to the hallway so the meeting is not disrupted. Public hearing on item number 1 is hereby open. The approval of the January 9th, 2025 Zoning Board of Adjustment meeting minutes.
Motion to approve?
All right, Vince made the motion to approve and Karen seconded that motion. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 2.
Good morning, Chair, Planning Commission, Cassie Hayes, current planner. Item 2 before you is a variance request to reduce the east side yard setback from 8 feet to 2 feet 6 inches for an attached garage. This is on property located at 144 Bellevue Drive. Current zoning of the property is medium density residential district. Future land use is urban neighborhood. And this property takes access off of Bellevue Drive, which is classified as a local street. What the applicant is proposing to do here is to remove an existing carport on the east side of their house that measures approximately 218 square feet right now and replace it with an attached single stall garage that will measure approximately 334 square feet. The existing carport was built in 1952 and is currently in disrepair. It is failing, including the concrete foundation underneath, and it is not wide enough to provide effective opening of car doors, and it also does not have a garage door, so it does not provide any sort of adequate security for the applicant's vehicle. So what she is proposing to do is to take down this carport completely, fix the concrete foundation underneath, and then put up a garage that is about 12 feet wide by about 28 feet wide to replace that existing carport. The existing carport is currently located about 5.1 feet from the east property line, so even as the carport exists today, it does not meet the 8-foot side yard setback requirement. The new garage will be constructed 2 feet 6 inches from the east property line to allow for them to expand the width of that garage a little bit more to give it more usability and also allow for a single stall garage door to be constructed. So that existing carport, as I mentioned, is considered legal non-conforming with regard to that 5-foot setback that it currently has. But once it's removed and replaced, the new garage does have to either meet the 8-foot side yard setback or be granted a variance, which is what she's requesting today. I do want to point out on this property, this is an elevation looking at it, so you'll see that it will be attached to the house with just that single stall garage door. I do want to point out on this property as well that there is some room in the backyard where a proposed garage could be constructed and potentially meet setback requirements. However, locating the garage in that area would require the applicant to, number one, remove this existing carport, also remove an existing deck, extend the driveway, and also extend retaining wall along that east side to allow and support that extended driveway. So the location of the existing dwelling, carport, and driveway do create special circumstances that would support approval of this variance. As I mentioned, the carport is currently not wide enough to effectively open car doors. A 12-foot wide garage, as is being proposed, is a standard width for a single stall or a single car with a standard size single stall garage door. So this does appear to be the minimum adjustment necessary for this request. The fire department did comment on this one that the garage wall on the east side does need to be constructed with material that is appropriately fire rated as approved by the building official, and that no windows or soffit vents should be on that east side wall. which is included as a stipulation if this variance is approved. I do also want to point out, so this is the house looking directly at it. This is a little closer picture of the carport as it exists today. You can see on this east side how it's kind of sloping down a little bit. That concrete is failing in there. I do want to point out that there are several similar garages in this area. Nearly every house on this street has a single stall garage similar to what the applicant is proposing. So it does not appear that this reduced side yard setback would be anything that's out of character for this neighborhood. The applicant did also speak with the property owner directly to the east of her, this property owner right here, and discussed the garage addition and the expansion of the garage. She stated that the neighbor did not have any sort of concerns. They would have also received the notification to meet public notification requirements, and I have not received any public comment on this project. So this does not appear to be injurious to the neighborhood or conflict with the city's comprehensive plan or the zoning. So ultimately, staff is recommending approval of this variance with the following criteria: that garages are a permitted use in the medium density residential district, that the existing dwelling and carport were constructed in 1952, and their location does provide a special circumstance that would support approval of this variance. The request does appear to be the minimum adjustment necessary, and granting this variance does not appear to be injurious to the neighborhood. With that, I will stand for questions, and the applicant is in the audience as well if you have questions for her.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the commission on this item? Vicky?
Thank you. Cassie, can you go to the picture that shows the subject property and that concrete slab?
That one?
There you go. Yeah. You can see that the existing concrete currently encroaches into that setback. The single-stall garage would be built over that once that concrete is repaired. And then just to note, Cassie, you did a great job explaining all of the criteria that would support it. Just noting that there is the one stipulation: if it's the Zoning Board of Adjustment's desire to approve it with the criteria noted by Cassie, please include the stipulation that requires for the fire prevention material on the east wall of the garage. Thank you.
Thanks, Vicky. Eric Heikus?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we're into means and methods, I'm sorry, but so the slab gets tore out and a new foundation poured, is that correct? Is that my understanding?
Yes, they
Okay.
will need to repair that foundation.
Okay, thank you.
Karen?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It appears that this seems to be the right avenue for this property and it kind of fits in the neighborhood. So I'm going to make a motion that we approve this variance with the reason that it's the minimum adjustment necessary, that's not going to be injurious to the neighborhood, and that they need to put in that firewall on that east side.
Okay.
Second.
Thanks, Karen. She made the motion as stated. Vince seconded her motion. And there was wording given by staff on the stipulation for that fire-treated wall that includes no windows or soffit vents on that wall, as well as the fire rating. Is that okay with the motion maker?
Concur.
Second?
Yes.
Does that work for you all? All right. Haven, discussion on the motion?
Yes, thank you. This picture that you have up here, is the new wall on that side approximately in the same location as the edge of this concrete that we're looking at?
Yes, yep, so the new garage, I'll go back to the elevation. So the new garage, you can see, will extend to the edge of the concrete.
All right. Anything else on this item? The motion is to approve the variance with the stipulation on the firewall. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. That's our last zoning board of adjustment item today. I'd look for a motion to adjourn so we can move on to planning commission. All right, Haven made the motion to adjourn.
Second.
Vince seconded that motion. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. We'll now move on to planning commission meeting, February 6, 2025. Again, if anybody wishes to speak to an item on the planning commission agenda, just grab a speaker request form over to the left side of the room and hand it to the staff, and we'll make sure you're heard. If you still haven't turned off your cell phone, please do so now. Turn it to silent. Items 1 through 3 have been placed on the consent calendar today and may be approved as a group. Action will be taken on all consent items in accordance with staff's recommendation by a single vote. Any item may be removed from the consent calendar by any planning commissioner, staff member, or audience member for separate consideration at this time. The findings of this planning commission are recommendations to the city council. The city council will make the final decision. Are there any items 1 through 3 that staff would like removed from the consent calendar?
No, thank you.
Any items 1 through 3 that any planning commissioner would like removed for separate consideration? And are there any items 1 through 3 that any audience member would like removed for separate consideration at this time? The chair would then entertain a motion to approve items 1 through 3 in accordance with the staff's recommendations.
Motion to approve items 1 through 3 in accordance with the staff's recommendations.
All right, thanks, Vince. Is there a second to that? Second. Mike Gallagher seconded that. Any discussion on the motion to approve these items? All those in favor?
That is being refurbished. You'll recognize this as a restaurant that has existed for quite some time on East North Street. They are proposing to serve a variety of beer and wine to accompany a new restaurant called Suzuki Sushi and Steakhouse. The hours of operation for this new restaurant will be Monday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to 2:30 for lunch, and then 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. for dinner. And they'll also be open on Sunday from noon until 9 p.m. And the beer and wine will be served by staff from coolers located at the server station. So this property, being on East North Street, is located in an established commercial corridor. It does not appear to be any sort of place used for religious assembly, a school, a park, or a playground within the 500-foot radius that we look at. The nearest property with residential zoning is approximately 225 feet northwest of the subject property in that zone medium density residential district. I do want to point out that their nearest property with a residential use is actually right here across Pine Street. That property, as you can see, is zone general commercial district, but it does appear to be developed with multiple single family dwellings. So I did want to point that out. This new restaurant, Suzuki Sushi and Steakhouse, will occupy the existing building. They have remodeled a little bit of the interior, but the existing building as it stands will remain as well with this use. The restaurant operator does need to obtain the appropriate alcohol licenses by city council before they start serving on this property, as is standard with these on-sale liquor establishments. So this is the property as it exists today. This is looking east, down East North Street. You can see that they changed the signage out here. They have not added any additional signage. They have just refaced the signs that are existing today. This is looking west down East North Street and also at the front of the building. This is looking at their monument sign as well as their parking lot. An additional view of their parking lot. This is the back side of their parking lot as well, so they do meet parking requirements currently. And here is verification that their signage was posted. This item was continued from the last planning commission meeting because they had not posted this sign. This sign has been posted, so public notification requirements have been met. So staff is ultimately recommending approval of this conditional use permit to allow the on-sale liquor establishment in conjunction with the restaurant with the stipulations noted in the staff report, and I will stand for any questions.
Thank you. Any questions?
Motion to approve the stipulations.
All right, Mike Gallagher made the motion to approve this item with stipulations.
I'll second.
Vince seconded the motion. Any discussion on the motion to approve? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 5.
Good morning, Chair and Commission. Morgan Twombly, Environmental Planner. This item is a major amendment to a conditional use permit to allow dugouts in the flood hazard district on behalf of the City Parks and Recreation Department. The subject property is located at 260 East Main Street North, otherwise known as Steel Avenue Park. The park features baseball fields that had cinder block dugouts until they were demolished in 2023, and you'll note that Rapid Creek runs through the east side of the property. As previously mentioned, the property is zoned flood hazard. Any structures in the flood hazard district require a conditional use permit. Future land use designation is Parks and Greenway. And this property takes access off of East Main Street North, which is a local street. The dugouts will be located as indicated here. The dugouts will be comprised of an open concept design, which will improve functionality while lowering maintenance, improving visibility, and facilitating flood flows. This design has already been successfully implemented at Robbinsdale Park with a blue color scheme. Conversely, this park at Steel Avenue will be similar in appearance, but will feature an evergreen colored roof to complement the aesthetic of the park. Here's the subject property. You will note the evergreen trees and tan structures, which will complement the green colored dugouts. And here's another look at the property facing north. One of the proposed dugouts will be placed to the right of the bleachers, right over here. This is looking east down East Main Street North, and this is looking west. And this is south across the street at the Rapid City Streets Department shops. This is another image of Robbinsdale Park, in which you can see that these dugouts offer very little obstruction to visibility. The slats and the fencing that you'll see here are not proposed at Steel Avenue Park at this time. The applicant has already obtained a floodplain development permit, and staff recommends approval of the application with the stipulations noted in the report, and I'll stand for questions.
Thank you. All right, any questions on this item? Vince?
Thank you, Chair. So looking at the Parkview, the blue backing on that dugout, is there going to be a similar backing on the proposed dugouts?
They're not proposed at this time. I believe those were put in by the baseball teams, I think to protect from wind and such, but those aren't proposed currently.
If they did want to put something like that in the future, does that have to come back to us?
No.
Okay. I guess one of the concerns that I'm having is that, I'm not sure why they didn't include it this time around, only because it does provide protection from the wind, but it also partially encloses that, and it obstructs anyone from seeing what's inside those structures. So, but what would that be made of, by the way, if they did want to put that backing in there?
Mr. Chair,
Vicky?
perhaps we could get Scott to come up and visit from Parks and Rec. Harney Little League is one of the teams that enjoys the fields at Robbinsdale, and that expenditure then falls onto the league, saving the city that revenue, and it's kind of a cost sharing that we orchestrate with them, but maybe you could describe how this might work here and what that material is.
Yeah,
Scott?
definitely.
Could you just say your name?
Yeah, Scott Anderson. I'm the Parks Division Manager for the city. With that question, I don't want to make a long story longer, but I'll keep it short. But with those concerns with the block dugouts, those baseball leagues only run basically from probably May to July. So there's a lot of time where there's no use at those fields. That was the reason for demolishing those old dugouts, because we were finding, excuse me, people inhabiting those old block dugouts. So by doing this, it'll open things up and obviously make it more visible. With those slats that they have at the Harney Little League fields, We did express to the group that we did not want those. Just for the fact I personally don't like them. If they get graffitied or they get bent, they really look bad. One option we had for them is maybe to put up like a windscreen like the tennis courts have. So you can put them up and down kind of
Okay.
when you have games and when they're needed. So
All right, no, thank you, because those were my concerns. Thank you for looking into that, I appreciate that.
Thank you. Eric Heikes?
Chair, a very thorough submittal. One question I have, do you have 500-year or 100-year flood established? Do you have a base flood elevation you can show in the site? Or is that irrelevant?
If I go out to Rapid Map, if you give me a second, I could show you. There is floodplain on the property, yes.
Is there? Okay.
But the structures start right at the very edge of it. But I can go out and show you if you like.
Mr. Chair, maybe if we could just let Todd speak to that.
Todd, all right.
I believe there is a base flood established, but I don't know what it is. It is in the floodplain, not the floodway. So that's why the permit
that
was
helps.
issued. But yeah, would have to investigate the FEMA map to figure out what the exact floodplain elevation is.
That answers my question. And you have an approved floodplain development plan?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Karen?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to make a comment about these dugouts. What an improvement that's going to be. My husband years ago worked out on that field when my son was playing and did a lot of things out there. And one of the things that was disturbing was the number of people who would be there when it's not during the season. And it was always a mess. And so this is going to be such an improvement, I think, for that area. So just wanted to comment on that.
I'm just going to ask, I'm 99% sure I know the answer to this, but that floodplain development permit that you already have, there's an emergency plan as part of that, correct? Like, you know, when we do the Hills Alive, we always ask, are you ready if something comes up? Is that Todd, you?
For something like this, there is not an emergency plan. This is a permanent structure. I think what you see the emergency plan for is when there's like tents and stuff that go up.
Gotcha.
That might even be in the floodway. This is not in the floodway. Does not require it.
Mr. Chair,
Vicki?
you'll see those evacuation plans when we have a large event and we have event goers that are unique to the park, unique to the event. In this case, these are the same occupants and participants at the park coming in. So how to get in and out of the park is well seated, and therefore an evacuation plan isn't needed. Plus, we don't have the same number. It's usually those, like Hills Alive, that's one that you will see every time that has an evacuation plan, just based on the number of individuals that are there.
Yeah. I don't have any special concerns. I mean, we utilize the floodplain as our recreation zone for our city in multiple different areas, multiple different organizations, so no worries for me. Eric?
Move approval. Is there stipulations? I don't think so, is there? Is there? Let's hear. So move approval with stipulations. Thank you.
Second.
All right, Eric moved for approval with the stipulations. Vince seconded that. Any discussion on the motion to approve? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. End of the agenda today. Is there anything from staff you'd like to add, Vicki?
No, other than we're tired of the cold weather. I had a staff member that I had to reach out to yesterday, and I knew he wasn't in the office, and when I called him, I asked him where he was, and he said Maui. So I'm thinking, I should have gone to him and asked that question. And it looks like next week is even going to be worse.
Yeah. Yeah, no good news there on the forecast. Anything from the commission?
I didn't want to tell you that
Vince.
I was in New Zealand and it's summer there right now, so.
Cheater.
But I came back here and where I used to be used, where I would have been used to the weather, because I would have adapted by now, I'm not adapted to this. It is cold.
Eric?
So a little trivia, I enjoy this one, but Memorial Park, where they have the Hills Alive project, the base flood elevation is such that it falls right outside of the interior circulation sidewalk. We established it, we raised that sidewalk by about 4/10 purposefully so that the base flood elevation basically runs right along the outside of the sidewalk. That way the demarcation was super easy that, okay, if it's outside this sidewalk, it's in the floodway, and if it's inside the sidewalk, you're good. So a little moment there that maybe some foresight and planning helped out in the end, but Vicky is absolutely right. A majority of the tents and things that happen that are out in the open space during that are in the floodway, so that emergency plan is so vital. But anyway, every once in a while us engineers get it a little bit right or have an idea that has some merit. So I'm not an engineer, but just saying.
All right, anything else? Okay, Mike Gallagher made the motion to adjourn.
Second?
Vince seconded the motion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.